So it's 4 o'clock on the East Coast. Thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Countess. I will be facilitating this event, but we have two presenters. I'll be talking about marketing stuff to help you and your business navigate your way through this really difficult and certainly at the beginning of the year unexpected environment for business. And with me is Paul Bosley. And Paul is the managing partner of Business Finance Depot. Paul and I have known each other for quite a few years, and we've been working together, I don't know, what, Paul, 3 or 4 years now?
Yeah, about 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. Boy, time flies. So that must mean we're right around day 1,000, if that's the case. So anyway, everybody, we're delighted you're here. I've named this Protecting Your Business Part 10. Now I say Part 10 because this is the second one that Paul and I are co-presenting on. This is actually the 10th webinar that I'm doing in the last week and a half or so. I'm doing webinars every single morning, 7 days a week, at 11:30 in the morning Eastern time. And so every day is a different topic. I know many of you joined me this morning. This morning's topic was how to use Facebook for business. Yesterday was LinkedIn. The day before that was 5 essential marketing tips. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But today it's talking about funding and marketing strategies to help your business stay on track and stay within the rails. So once again, this is number 10, and the idea here is to help businesses deal with the current environment. And we want to bring the business community together because, you know, this is a new situation for everybody, and we can help each other. So use the Q&A and the chat boxes. Let us know what's on your mind. Once again, I'm Countess. My company is the Countess Group. We are in our 19th or 20th year. I think we start our 20th year next month, actually. We started in 2001. And Paul is my co-host, and Paul owns the company named Business Finance Depot. And he'll tell you a little bit more about himself in a few minutes. In today's conversation, and we'd really love for this to be a conversation, not a couple of talking heads and death by PowerPoint, but truly a way for you to ask your questions live. We are recording this. It's also on Facebook Live. And so if all goes well, I will produce the video and have it posted on a YouTube channel as well. Certainly by tomorrow, might even be later today. But what we're going to talk about for the next 45 minutes or so is where we are today and talk about ways to survive the downturn, which obviously has already started. I'll be talking about marketing your business. Paul will be talking about the latest news on the stimulus, and there is late-breaking news. And then we'll talk about available resources and the kinds of things that you can do right away. If you have questions, put them in the chat box. Tell us what your concerns are. Tell us what your business is doing, and present some ideas that you have that can help others too. And as I mentioned, a playback will be available. Once again, here's where the Q&A box is, whether you're on a smartphone, a tablet, a computer, down at the bottom of the screen. If you don't see it, move your mouse down there and the toolbar will present itself. You see a picture here of what it looks like on a tablet or laptop on a smartphone. The goal for Paul and me is to facilitate the sharing of knowledge and support each other during this very uncertain time. Our goal is to be helpful. What I'd love for you to do is take notes and ask questions. Once again, wanted to be interactive. A special thank you to those of you who took time to promote this event on your own networks so more people could benefit from the information. We had about 100 people, no, actually about 130 people registered to attend. And for those of you who shared and or will share your expertise during this event, and a special shout out to Lois Perry of the SCORE Orlando chapter. Lois and Paul and I have known each other for quite a few years, and Lois has been really outstanding at helping to promote these events to the SCORE Orlando chapter, and also promoted it, I know, to SCORE Miami and the other chapters as well. And also a special thank you to those of you who will continue to stay engaged after this live event is over. And also another thank you to those of you who offered comments during the registration. Paul and I will be looking at those comments so that we can get a better feel about how to be helpful to you. So where we are today, this is the slide I showed last Friday, a week ago exactly. And this was Dr. Fauci and the other folks whose faces I'm sure you recognize, having those daily press conferences on what the plans were and what the strategies are to try to help protect us and minimize the impact of COVID-19. This is a screen grab. I have had Yahoo Finance on my screen over on the other side of the room all day today. And this slide is the one that they were showing just before the House had their voice vote on the $2 trillion stimulus package. So you can see it's pretty wide-ranging, but it's not cast in stone. And I know Paul will offer some comments on that later. This does continue to be a very fluid situation. What's happened in the last week is many states have imposed a shelter in place. 22 states as of this morning. Certain cities within states are now doing this as well. Paul and I live in the Orlando area, and Orange County last night imposed a shelter in place. Consumer confidence is sharply lower, probably not much of a surprise there. And the near and long-term impact of business is starting to look like this. And, you know, I think there are some pretty obvious answers. I think it's pretty clear that we just simply don't know what's really going to happen and how quickly these things are going to happen. The most seriously and directly impacted businesses include businesses like these. Many of them have been forced to shut down, and they've found other ways, or at least they're thinking about other ways to do business. One of the people who attended the webinar that I did on Monday night is a physical therapist in New York City who can't get into her office. Her office is in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, and that's shut down. She physically cannot get there. So she and I have been talking about strategies to move her business online. And my offer to you is that if this is something that you're struggling with, if you're not sure what to do to move your business to a more virtual environment, then we need to talk. So what can we do today? We're going to talk about some very specific ways for you to survive the downturn. As I mentioned, my name's Ken Countess. I've got over 40 years helping businesses, big and small, Fortune 50 companies, startups, entrepreneurs, mid-sized companies, with just about everything that you can do to market your business, to message your employees, your stakeholders. I've got a specific expertise in crisis communications, and certainly we can all agree that we're in a bit of a crisis right now. The three major companies I worked for are Marriott, Caremark, and Motorola. I spent over 2 decades there. Our company is the Countess Group. We partner up with quite a few different companies who are offering great tools to help you grow. And if you need help with any of those, please let me know. We are a full service marketing consultancy. Now let Paul introduce himself, and then we can get you into the real content. Paul, why don't you take it away?
Thanks, Ken. I've been in the as the slices in the health club industry for 46 years, which gives you an idea that I'm over 65, and I've operated and owned clubs up until about 15 years ago. And about 15 years ago, we changed our focus of our company to be involved for the most part with equipment leasing and financing the equipment in health clubs. As Ken mentioned, I volunteered for SCORE almost a decade ago in Fort Lauderdale. And as part of the SCORE chapter, which is SCORE stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. It's a nonprofit division of the Small Business Administration, the SBA, which is the organization as part of the federal government that is securing all the loans that we'll be talking about. And as part of that, I learned quite a bit about SBA loans. And our company now operates really nationally. We work with a lot of different franchisors, fitness centers, campgrounds, and we really specialize in packaging SBA loans and equipment leases for our clients. And what I've learned in the finance world basically is there's not a lot of SBA lenders that understand equipment leasing. And there's actually more money transacted in equipment leasing every year than there is in loans, although probably not this year. And there's very few companies in equipment leasing that know much about SBA loans. So it kind of makes us very unique. And we'll be talking about SBA loans a little later. As you can see, we work with quite a few lenders and, franchisors in the United States. The names that are probably the most recognizable on this slide is Curves. A lot of people, of course, have seen Curves over the years. Massage Envy, there's 1,500 of them across the country. And the oldest franchise on that list is Yogi Bear's Jellystone Parks. We've been doing their financing for years. They're a franchise that's been out there for 50 years. And the media events that we're very involved with are in the fitness industry. Club Industries, one of the oldest trade shows in the fitness industry. I think it is the oldest one. And I'm on their advisory board for franchising, and companies that do trade shows like Franchise Expo West, or Franchising Today is just an organization for promoting franchising. So I think that gives you a pretty good idea of our background, and I'll be focused primarily on the new ways of financing your business a little later in this presentation.
All right, awesome. Thanks a lot, Paul. Hey, as we dive in here, one thing I do want to do is make sure that we know what's been most effective in getting people to attend today. So if you would take a moment and go ahead and participate in that poll that's running right now, which is how did you find out about today's event? And click all the ones that apply and then hit the submit button. And looks like we've got a wide variety of places that people found out about the event. So go ahead and submit your responses there. In the meantime, let's get things going. I want to spend a few minutes about marketing. And most people do struggle with marketing. It's probably no secret. A lot of people would much rather be doing other things. Marketing's a necessary evil. But that's what generates the leads. And marketing is not sales, and sales is not marketing. The marketing challenge is to bring leads in. So, and for most people, it kind of looks like this, right? I say to someone, and by the way, I've done classes for about 10,000 people over the years. And for most people, marketing, they look at you like, oh my God, what is it? They look at me like a deer in the headlights when I ask them, what is it that you're doing? And so we want to eliminate this issue for you. We want to help you grow your business. Most people are simply afraid that they won't get it right, so they do nothing or next to nothing. So I'm going to give you 5 tips, and it all starts with lead nurturing. But the fact is that a lot of companies don't nurture their leads. And the reality is this, and this is a study done by Forrester Research. You probably know the name. Companies that excel at lead nurturing generate 50% more sales-ready leads at a lower cost. So what you need to do is get those leads and then nurture them, and nurture them well and often. It turns out that 70% of qualified leads are not ready to buy when they first interact with your business. And additionally, about 80% of marketing leads never convert into sales. And most of the time, that's because those leads haven't been nurtured. How often have you gone to an event? I'm talking to you. How often have you gone to an event, a trade show, a Chamber of Commerce event, and you swap business cards, and you put the card in your pocket or purse, and then forget about it. That exchange, as simple as it was a lead for you. And many of us are very guilty of not nurturing the leads. And so a lead is only warm for a short amount of time. So I'm going to give you 5 steps to lead nurturing value. The first is, when you get those leads, put them in the right bucket. Segment your list. Make sure you're going to target the right people at the right time, and then create offers that really engage people. Create the offers that convert. Don't make it a one-size-fits-all offer. All right, you probably have multiple kinds of products and services, and figure out who's right for each product. And once you are able to close that sale, deliver your product or service, and then wow them. Make them want to do business with you again. And when you've wowed that customer, ask them for a referral. Most people don't ask for referrals. And what better way to generate more business than to ask the people that you've already wowed for more business? Just ask them for the favor. Who do you know that might benefit from my service? And step number 5 is probably the simplest one, is once you've figured out what all the first 4 are, it's simply get started. So on step number 1, targeted segmenting your audience increases the response by up to 10-fold. What does that mean? It means that if you try to do a one-size-fits-all email, for example, you'll probably fall flat. You probably won't get the kind of results you're looking for because you're trying to be all things to all people. If you understand your audience well enough, you can target your message to the right person. What that will do is make your response rate go up. You'll close more sales more quickly. And talk to people as individuals and provide value. I always hear this term, I'm going to do an email blast. A blast? Who wants to be blasted at? I mean, I sure don't. I get 650 emails a day on average. And if I perceive that the email I'm getting is a blast, it's just a shotgun, everybody getting the same thing, and it doesn't target me, the odds are pretty good I'll delete it. All right, so that's step number 1. Step number 2, and along those lines, by the way, there are 4 different types of buyer characteristics, and it's important for you to figure out where to put people in each of those buckets. People are all different. When we talk about demographics, it could be age, it could be gender, it could be geography. Figure out where to put common types of people in which bucket. Think about psychographics. Do they tend to be high-end purchasers, or do they purchase things on the lower end of the scale? So for instance, I know a lot of people on this call are own fitness places, clubs, right? And so you've got the high-end clubs and you have the everyman or everywoman club. Are you an LA Fitness, or are you one that caters just to the premium buyers? And so when you think about it that way, you'll want to segment your marketing differently. Those that are engaged with your stuff, make sure you understand what got them engaged and do more of it, and understand purchase behaviors too. Step 2 is create the offers that get people to convert from prospect to customer. So after you do the segmentation, if there are gaps in your product offering, identify what they are, work to solve them. Maybe your better bet, instead of a one-size-fits-all, is do a good, better, best approach. So create offers that will fill those gaps and then send the right offer at the right time. Then deliver and wow that customer. How do you maximize the value of each lead and win them over? Give them a reason to come back. Give them a reason to come back, and then ask them for referrals. Did you know that nearly 90% of customers say they would actually refer someone, but only 10% of people ever ask for a referral. What a lost opportunity. You probably have a gold mine sitting in your basket there and aren't taking advantage of it. And number 5 is just get started. Segment the list, create the offers that convert, deliver in Wow, ask for the referral, and get started. Just for attending today, I've got this checklist for you. If you send me an email after this event, and I'm only going to send it to you if you send me that email. I'm trying to keep you engaged. I'm going to send you this checklist of 50 ways to wow your customer. All right? Today you need to up your game. You do need to be marketing. Let people know that you're still out there. In this environment, with coronavirus shutting most everything down, a lot of people are assuming that a lot of businesses are out of business. For instance, a restaurant or a fitness club, the doors may be closed. Let them know you still care. Let them know you're out there so that when you're able to open your doors again, they're right there with you. And don't worry about it being perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. Try things out. I mean, there are certainly wrong ways to do things, but you're in business. You have enough experience. You're probably smart enough to get a few things out there and see what's working. And once again, if you're not sure what to do, Paul and I are here. Call me for your marketing stuff. My message to you is take action. All right, next, let's talk about funding. Ready, Paul?
I was born ready.
All right, you're on.
All right. We're going to divide this really into 2 areas. The first is the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That is the same loan program that's been out for many years. It's available for usually areas of the country that are impacted by hurricanes, floods, fires. It's a program that you apply directly with the SBA. So there's a website that you go to for the disaster loan. In our newsletter that we send out, we have very specific information on how to apply, where to apply, the different steps involved with the application process. But for the purpose of this particular webinar, I'll just go over the fact that it's for any business at all that's been open prior to the virus outbreak. It's for any small business that wants to apply, and the loan amount should be sized to roughly the business that you're in. The use of funds can be really just to help you get through the disaster. It's basically a working capital loan for all practical purposes. There's no restrictions on the use of the money, paying people, marketing, paying your rent, paying your payroll. It's really a working capital loan. The interest rate's 3.5%. It's a fixed rate. It's not a variable rate. It's a 10-year repayment term. There's no prepayment penalty. There's no banks involved. There's no brokers. There's no agents involved. So there's no fees at all other than the 3.5% loan. So what I would recommend that you do, if you haven't received our newsletter, toward the end of this presentation, Ken will tell you how to apply online for free to get a copy of our newsletters going forward. If you would like to get one of the past newsletters that give the disaster relief loan, then probably the best thing to do would really be to email me, I guess. Is there any other way to do that, Ken, that's easy? That you can think
That would be the best way. We can package up. In fact, maybe one of the things we'll do is we'll put an archive of previous newsletters out there, put them up on the website. And so my encouragement would be for those of you who are interested in receiving back issues of the Business Finance Depot newsletter is check our website. I will try to get to that in the next few days and put a page up there where you can access an archive of the newsletters. How's that?
All right. Thanks, Ken. As you can tell, Ken's been our marketing director now for years, so he'll take care of doing all that. The second thing is to talk about is it's really called the CARES Act. These are small business loans that are now going to be disseminated really from Congress as soon as President Trump signs it into law. It's been passed by both houses. I don't know if it's been signed yet. I'm imagining that there'll be some type of an official signing that they'll show on television tonight. And then the information will get passed off to the different departments. And the one that we're talking about primarily today is the SBA, although it will also be disseminated to the IRS because there's also some tax benefits. And the loan, since the law was just passed, there's some information about it that's been disseminated. The information that I'm going to share with you was given to me either by the National Restaurant Association or by the Wall Street Journal, so they're pretty reliable sources. But the concept behind the CARES Act is really to help businesses that have employees, that have locations, and to get these people back on the rolls of payroll and to pay them, because conceptually what's happening is between now and I'm going to say the end of May, if I'm not mistaken, the money that you put into payroll, rent, utilities, if it's your owner, if you own the business, the money that's part of your mortgage payment that goes toward interest, if it's all done properly, will be converted to a grant. So basically what that means is if you apply for the CARES Act and you get approved and you get the money, whatever money that you use from that's used for the things that I just mentioned, payroll, interest on mortgages, rent, utilities, will be converted to a grant. It's the first time that's ever happened, to my knowledge, in the history of the SBA, which is a very exciting thing for business owners. So these loans will not be done directly with the SBA because the SBA could never handle the volume, obviously, because everybody in business is going to apply for this if you got your head screwed on straight anyhow. So what that'll happen is the applications will be done through all the different SBA lenders. My understanding is it would be with what's called the PLP lenders, the preferred lending providers. That means that once they approve it, it's been automatically approved by the SBA. So that's the information that we have so far. My understanding of the loan amount is a little vague at this point because at very least the loan amount would be what your normal operating expenses would be for the next couple of months, but there might be opportunities for you to increase that loan request to include some other things. There is a 4% interest rate. What I am reading on the document from the National Restaurant Association is the SBA's waived their fees. It looks as if the lender fees will also be waived, but I'm not sure how that's going to work because that would mean that the SBA is telling the banks to do this for free, and somehow I'm not buying that. But there's some other things in regards to tax benefits. In regards to those, any money that you would normally pay to match Social Security payments can be waived. Any money that you match for Medicare, I think, can be waived. I know there's a lot of different tax benefits on what you can take advantage of to carry forward losses and to incur losses on your current year's tax return. So the CARES Act really, when you step back and look at it, it really has two different parts to it from the perspective of a business. The first part is loans that you can get. The second part are tax benefits you can get. And then if you take your business hat off, because I'm assuming most people here on the webinar are not only business owners, but they're just individuals that have different personal issues too. There is a whole myriad of different things that are going to happen on a personal level. And I pretty much have put those into different categories, but just to cover them, for people that are on unemployment right now, there's rules that are being passed for people that are on unemployment. So if you laid off workers and your workers are on unemployment insurance, there's extra money that's going to be granted to them until they come back to work with you. Direct payments that are being made to households. That's going to vary depending on how much money, depending on whether you're single or married. and also depending on how much money you made and you filed your last tax return. Behind on bills, there's going to be important things about credit reporting, like things that the credit agencies can't report you as late. There's different things about student loans for people that have student loans where there's interest being waived and there's forgiveness there. So what I would encourage you to do is to read up as much as you can on the different personal issues that are being addressed by the CARES Act. It took about a week to pass when I started to read the breadth of what they've discussed and what they've done. And it's an 800-page roughly act that I've got a copy of, and I haven't read the whole act, but you can tell that a lot of people worked real hard to see what they could do to make this work. I mean, just to give you an idea of something that's very heartening, at least to me, is especially how divisive this country's been over the last couple of years. The Senate passed this act 99-0. Not one person, Democrat, Republican, or Independent, abstained or voted against it. So everybody's on board to do what they can to help the people that have been impacted by the virus. So on that note, I'll turn it back over to you, Ken. Other than, please make sure that they know how to get our newsletter when you end the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. That was really great, Paul. And I'll add, I want to key off of one of the comments you made about unemployment. I was on a call yesterday with the Florida Economic Development person, the senior person, Ken Lawson. And one of the pieces, I mean, he had a wealth of information that he was disseminating. But one of the things that really stuck in my mind was he said the call volume went from 50,000 a week to 500,000 calls this week. So the reason that I mention that is this, you know, so many things have taken many of us by surprise. But if this is something, if one of these situations, that, you know, one of the things that have come out of all of these different legislative activities will be helpful to you, and you want to make a phone call, be prepared to wait, wait on the phone. There were stories of people being on hold for 3 hours. So, you know, obviously you don't want to be on hold for that length of time. So do the best you can to go online, because what they kept referring to was so much of the information is just coming out. And so the looking online may be one of the best sources for you. And when it comes to applying for benefits, it's entirely possible that the servers that have to handle all of this stuff may not all be in place yet. They may get overloaded. So patience may be a virtue in more than one way. Here's the phone number for Business Finance Depot. It's 800-788-3884. I'll leave that up there for a moment. You may want to take a picture of the screen with your camera if you don't have a pen or paper handy right now. But this is the number to reach Paul and the Business Finance Depot team directly. 800-788-3884. Also, Paul mentioned the newsletter, which we have been putting out on average once a month. We've actually put a couple out already this month. But this does continue to be a very fluid situation. And as you could tell, you know, Paul is way on top of this stuff. He is our expert when it comes to funding and financing, and he knows the workings of the SBA and the banking system. So my suggestion is, if you're not already receiving our emails every month, go to the URL that you see. The shortened version of it is bit.ly/BFD, meaning Business Finance Depot -mail. And that's all in lowercase. That is case sensitive. So that will automatically sign you up for the mailing list. All right, so once again, you might want to take a picture of that if you don't have a pen or paper on hand. All right, so we're getting into the Q&A section, and once again, go ahead and put in your comments and questions. Let me run another poll here, because you know our goal is to make these as beneficial for the people who choose to attend as possible. And we are really grateful that you spent the time to join us this afternoon. We want to be sure that this is value time well spent for you. It does take us quite a bit of time to put this stuff together, but we're committed as a business community to helping. We want to be sure that people not only get the information that they need, but are able to keep their businesses afloat, keep their employees working wherever possible, taking advantage of the latest developments and making sure that when there are new developments that you're among the first to know. Looking over at the other screen, hey Paul, all the votes so far that it's been excellent or very good. So that's good to know. All right, so let me hit the questions first, and then I'll move over to the Q&A box. And feel free though to put your questions in here, and we'll answer them. All right, so Essie, I think is the way you pronounce your name, asks, how do businesses that just started less than 1 year ago take advantage of the finance options, because we are hurting too?
Essie, the loans, both loans that I spoke about, you're eligible. If you've been open prior to the coronavirus starting and you have a location, you're eligible for both of those loans. So it's just a matter of which one makes more sense for you to apply to.
Great, thank you. Francis asks, are you recording this so we could have a link to it? It is being recorded. As long as the recording comes out well, and as long as I don't have to do too much manipulation to edit things, meaning the starting time and the ending and all of that, we should have it posted and ready for you to watch a replay fairly quickly, certainly no later than tomorrow. All right, let's see, so we got that one. Harry asks, is the SBA disaster loan part of the CARES Act that passed? If so, does that mean the only SBA assistance available to me is the Paycheck Protection Program that only provides 250% of your payroll?
Harry, they're two different loan programs. The SBA Disaster Loan Program has been available over the years for people that experience a disaster. The software that they use, the website, they added the coronavirus as a, and they call it the economic, let me see here. Let's see in a second. The SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So they've just used the same program for that. You can apply for that loan and just quantify what you think the impact that this has been on your business from a standpoint of lost sales, or if you've averaged, let's just say 50,000 a month in sales, and all of a sudden over the next couple of months you only bring in 10, then you've lost $80,000, and maybe some other things that you want to quantify to add into the loan program. As far as the CARES Act, that's really more geared toward making sure that you keep people working, you keep your doors open, and you quantify again what your operating costs are. And then, it's a little vague on what you can add to that, which is something I have to learn about. But they're two different programs.
Okay. Steve asks, says, I did not get your point about loan size. Could you repeat that?
For the SBA disaster loan, you're really focused on lost sales. What kind of impact has it had on your sales? And what do you need to borrow in order to kind of make that up? And you quantify that based on the history of your business and what's been going on in regards to your business itself. In regards to the CARES Act, that's really more geared toward compensating you for your operating expenses and your payroll to keep people working, and whatever other things you want to add to it. So basically, they're based on your size. Both loans can go up to 10 million. So it's really just depending on the size of your business and how much you normally spend in regards to your payroll and how much you spend on your operating expenses. Where the first one, the disaster relief loan, seems to be more focused on lost sales and the injury that has been caused by the virus and the shutdowns.
Okay, thank you. The next one is from Mary, and she says, sorry to join late. How about sole proprietors, those of us who freelance or do independent contracting? Are we eligible with one owner employee?
Yes, the CARES Act accounts for that. It's actually listed in the CARES Act. As far as the Economic Disaster Relief Act, it's still the same thing because, as an example, as a personal matter, when I saw that the disaster loan is an unsecured loan up to $25,000, in our company, I'm really the only employee. Everyone else that's part of it either gets paid to their company or their 1099 employees. I applied for a $25,000 disaster relief loan based on sales.
Okay. By the way, the current poll that's up there asks if you'd like a call from either Business Finance Depot or from the Countess Group. Sorry, it was set up as either or. I tried while we were running through this to have I'd like a call from both. So if that's the case for you, we'll put our contact information up there in just a second. So reach out to us. We're here to help you. All right, Alex says there is so much information regarding loans and benefits offered. Who, perhaps somebody we can hire, can help us navigate and determine what we are eligible for based on our unique situation?
With the disaster loan, you have to navigate it yourself. It's really frowned upon that anybody, like for instance, in our position that helps package loans, tries to take advantage of the situation by charging fees to help people. So everything we've offered, all the information in our newsletter, all the information that we've downloaded has all been done is for free. And it really is SCORE counselors. We kind of subscribe to the same thing in the sense that we offer our expertise for free. In regards to the CARES Act, I don't know yet. That part is unknown. It's going to go through all the SBA lenders. And I think what we're going to have to do as a company, just like anybody that's in a situation like ours, is decide how we're going to approach it. I believe that information will be received by me, I'm going to guess, by no later than Monday. So I'll know what we're able to do as a company. And then once I know what we're able to do as a company, just like anybody in our position to help people, we'll make some kind of business decision on how we choose to handle that.
Okay. Francis asks, do any of these loans need collateral, or will a lien be put on the business?
The answer to the question is different depending on the loan. The SBA disaster loan, anything over $25,000 is got to be collateralized. So if you have collateral, they're going to ask for it. And $25,000 is the least amount. That's a totally unsecured, uncollateralized loan. In regards to the the CARES Act, there's no collateral required.
Okay. Eunice asks, can I apply to unemployment if I'm a sole proprietor?
I don't know.
Don't know the answer. Okay. As a follow-up, can I apply to this is from Harry, and it might have been answered. As a follow-up, can I apply to the SBA disaster loan if I already have SBA financing in place that is collateralized?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The only caveat to that is if you have currently an SBA loan that goes over the maximum, then at that point you can't. But that would mean that you have an outstanding balance with the SBA that is in excess of $5 million. And I think they raised it to 10, which I doubt very many people have an SBA outstanding balance of $5 million.
Okay. We have a note here from Christy that says President Trump signed the bill.
Oh, that's good news. Thanks, Christy.
Anna says once the paperwork has been filled out and submitted, how long can a person expect before they get an answer?
I applied for the SBA disaster loan Sunday night. I got an email on Tuesday saying it went into underwriting. So I haven't heard anything since. In regards to the CARES Act, I have no idea because it just got passed, and as we just heard, it just got signed into law. But the good news about that is it's going to be disseminated to all the different SBA lenders, and all the lenders in the country will be working on it.
Okay. Anthony says, for the business disaster loan, the link disasterassistance.gov asks you to first register for FEMA before letting you apply. However, the FEMA is saying my zip code isn't in a declared disaster area yet. It actually is. It won't let me proceed with the application without registering for FEMA, but it's not allowing me to register. Any advice, Paul?
If for whatever reason your county or your state has not announced it's a disaster area, then you're not eligible for the disaster loan. That's a political decision made by the governors or whoever, which would mean that if that's the case, you're really going to have to apply for the CARES Act.
Okay, Deb asks, is the CARES Act the same as the stimulus plan?
I'm not sure what you mean by the stimulus plan. The CARES Act is the act that was just signed into law by President Trump, which really deals with direct payments back to people, unemployment, extra money for unemployment, money to the airlines, money to the hospitals, to the states. I mean, it's a huge bill, which includes the CARE Act. I mean, which includes the business loans that we talked about earlier in the webinar, as well as the tax benefits to business. So it's the loan. It's the law that was just passed.
Okay. Bianca says we applied for the SBA disaster loan. The website said it was submitted, but we did not receive an email or anything. What do we do from here?
There's nothing you can do but wait. I mean, you have to wait until it gets processed.
Okay. Let's go into those are the questions. Now let's go over to the chat. Ryan says, do we segment by product or by demographics or both? Ryan, the answer is yes, you do both by product and by demographics, but it really depends upon the type of product or service you're offering. So if you can let me know what that might be, I can give you a more specific answer. Ryan also asked, when's the right time? What if my product is a long-term purchase and not a repeatable sale? Well, this is the time for you to continue to nurture those leads. Long-term purchase, I'm wondering if you mean it's a long cycle time before they purchase, or if it's a one-shot deal and they probably won't buy again. But either way, if these are prospects that you're trying to reel in, the thing to do, especially now, is let them know you're still there, your service and product or service is still available. Continue to nurture the lead. If it means picking up the phone and calling, then you really ought to do that. Set up a video call. I will tell you that in the last week, I have probably used Zoom, which obviously if you're watching us on Zoom, that's what we're using. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, we are broadcasting live on Zoom. I have probably been on Zoom 30 times during the course of the last week, doing these virtual meetings because we can't go out. So I've been talking to clients all over the country. And you know, what's happening now, Ryan, and everybody else here, is that, you know, our world has changed dramatically, no secret there. And the way we do business today is different than 2 weeks ago. It also will continue to be very different. So for instance, you know, schooling now, education, we used to think of homeschooling as something odd. Well, guess what? Homeschooling, the way we used to know it, will become the norm in many situations now, where teachers can speak to 300 people at one time. You know, I mean, and the same is true in business, where trade shows over the last couple of years, many of them, even before coronavirus hit, trade shows were going virtual. So your business may be one of those where you will have an opportunity to nurture those leads in a more virtual environment. People have become much more accepting of participating on a video call, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many. Just think about the news broadcasts every day where so many reporters and even news anchors are working out of their home now. We had the Today Show on earlier today, and I don't typically watch the Today Show, but the two hosts, Hoda and Savannah, Hoda was in the studio in New York City, probably driven in a limo so she wouldn't have to interact with other people. But Savannah was working out of her basement. Al Roker was doing the weather out in the garden. And so we've come to accept that things are changing. So Ryan, and for everybody else, take advantage of the fact that these technologies now are way better than they were just a short time ago. And if you need help figuring out how to do business virtually, give me a call. We've been doing this. I've been doing this for 15 years. When I worked at Motorola, we were doing video calls. Actually, we were doing video calls in the 90s. So they're not hard to do. The technology is far better. So let's talk about how we can help you do more business even while you're at home. Let's see. Steve asks, are any of these products, Paul, this will be for you, are any of these products available to new hospitality businesses? I am working with two who have yet to open and have fallen behind in cash to complete final equipment purchases.
No. The way I understand it is both of these, well, I know the CARES Act really wouldn't apply for sure. The Disaster Relief Act might, but I'm even not sure about that, to be honest with you, because I think one of the rules of the Disaster Relief Act is that you had to be open. My guess is if I was in your shoes, I would probably circle back to whatever lenders I had that helped me get open. I would see what they can do to increase your loan amount. If you didn't borrow any money, then I think probably you're better off, besides applying for the disaster loan, to apply for a new loan for your business and just to get more working capital before you open.
Great. Sam asks, can I see a recording this on Facebook Live later too? I will try to post it again on Facebook, but you should be able to watch it live. Facebook does keep a live feed, meaning once the live event is over, you can access it for about 24 hours or so. So yes, you will be able to find it. It's at facebook.com/.countessgroup. And we'll put it up on YouTube and on our websites as well. But the most immediate way to watch the replay will be on Facebook Live. Terrence says, outstanding content, much appreciated, thank you. Eunice says, can I apply to unemployment if I'm a sole proprietor? I think we answered that on the other side. For multi-unit owners, does it matter whether you apply for each unit individually or as a total?
It depends on if they're owned by separate entities. If you have an entity that owns them all, then you apply as one. If they're owned separately, then you would apply for one of them that you feel needs it, because the lender's gonna want to know about everything that you own anyhow, all your affiliate businesses. Okay.
Harry asks another question on the CARES Act. Says, my business has a large rent payment with low payroll. Getting 250% of my monthly payroll has minimal impact if it's capped at 250%. Am I not understanding the loan amounts correctly? I need help with rent costs.
The rent's included. Any money on the operating expenses for the period of time they define is included in the forgiveness.
Great. Margaret asks, as a sole proprietor who runs 2 advisory businesses providing consulting services in separate and distinct industries, would I have to apply for 1 or 2 loans under the CARES Act? Also, if prior income varies or was low given timing of receivables, how will lenders quantify the amount of loan eligibility?
That's actually listed in the CARES Act. The information that I have is is from this restaurant association printout that I've got. It says they calculate your average by taking a 12-week period average beginning February 15th, 2019, or March 1st, you pick, ending June 30th. So you can take the average of that and multiply it by 2.5 times. That's the way that they calculate it. And that information will be given by the CARES Act. So you just take an average, basically, of what you earned last year, same time.
Great. Okay, one more. Is the loan amount dependent on the total number of employees?
Yeah.
My nonprofit doesn't have employees, but contracts with a company to operate. Does that qualify?
I believe so. Yeah, it talks about employees. It talks about people that are like a lot of restaurant workers or 1099. I believe that it counts all that.
Okay, very good. Well, let's, in the last few minutes, let's just talk about a few of the other resources that are available. We've been talking a lot about what's available from the Small Business Administration. A SCORE, we've referred to several times. That's a really amazing organization. Paul and I have been associated with SCORE for quite a few years. They're all around the country. There are 11,000 volunteers, all with great business experience, spanning, by the way, both business and nonprofit. I strongly suggest that you check out score.org and also the SBDC. There are Small Business Development Centers throughout the country, also funded by the federal government, free services that you really should take advantage of. If you need up-to-date info on the virus itself or guidance for businesses and employers, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, would be a good resource for you. And in the state of Florida, there's floridadisaster.biz. So here's the message. We're going to get through this together. We've spent a lot of time on the Q&A. It looks like we've cleared out the Q&A box. In essence, today's uncertain times don't have to be uncertain. At least we can minimize the uncertainty. The thing is to take action. Don't be that deer in the headlights. And let us help you. Here's our contact information. You can reach out to Paul or me or both. We and our teams are here to help you out, whether you're looking for assistance on funding, financing, marketing, communications, ways for you to think creatively about how to keep your business on track and staying within the rails. So Mary, you're welcome. And yeah, it is a bit of much needed hope, isn't it? So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Our next event is tomorrow morning at 11:30 Eastern. I'm doing, as I mentioned earlier, 7 days a week. I'm doing live workshops, seminars online using Zoom and Facebook Live. I'm doing them 7 days a week. So the next one is tomorrow morning at 11:30. Watch your inbox also. We have the next one of these types of webinars coming up on Tuesday. My host then will be Tony Rubin, who is CEO of a startup and has great operational and finance experience. So I hope you'll join us. Wishing you all a really amazing, wonderful weekend. This has been Protecting Your Business, Part 10. This segment's been funding and marketing. So thanks everybody for joining Paul and me today. We wish you a healthy and safe weekend. Have a great time. And thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.